Over the past several years, there has been a change in how we think about smoking in public spaces. One reason is the research about the effects of secondhand smoke. Another is how we feel about sending the message that smoking is acceptable, even within limits. Our guest is trying to gain some new smoke-free territory at bus stops in Massachusetts, and he'd like to extend those gains in his native country, Liberia. We'd like to welcome the Executive Director of Universal Human Rights International, Torli Krua. Thank you very much for being with us, Torli.
Thank you, Chris.
Torli, what got you focused on the smoking?
Well, the Universal Human Rights has Article 3, says everyone has a right to life. Cigarette is an unnecessary burden. It kills more people than AIDS, traffic accidents, It kills over 480,000 people in the United States alone. And in other third world countries where there are no regulation, people are dying because of smoking and secondhand smoke. It's a serious problem that needs to be addressed. So my being a human rights activist, the right to life is primary in all of those rights that we have.
Well, if I go to a bus shelter and there's somebody near me who's smoking, I'm not going to maybe be afraid of dying of cancer, but I might not want to be there breathing it, and next thing you know, I'm waiting outside exposed to the elements because I don't want to be near the smoker.
It's very uncomfortable, people smoking in areas. I mean, they're addicted to it. A lot of the smokers really don't want to smoke, but the tobacco companies are advertising their product nationally and globally to recruit their customers who, in the end, they kill. They're killing their own customers and recruiting younger people to also suffer from the same fate.
Well, it's bad enough that the young people see all those ads at convenience stores, but if you have students waiting for a bus on their way to school, they see this often enough, maybe they don't approve of it, but after a while you start to think, well, that's normal.
Absolutely. What people see is what people do, especially young people. They look acceptable to them. And every day, over 2,000 young people try their first cigarette. And I believe, when we have shelters, like bus stops where people can come and wait, those places are supposed to be out of bounds for smokers because secondhand smoke definitely kills.
So what has to be done to make this a reality in Massachusetts?
Well, right now, we started a project called Tobacco Free Africa, starting right here, Clean Air for All. And we want the authorities here to ensure that all bus stops are smoke-free, designated smoke-free facilities for the benefit of those who are riding these buses and standing in these bus stops in Boston.
I guess you've heard about maybe some health disparities, how maybe this might impact people that you work with more than many other people?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, especially young people coming into this country who are refugees coming into the United States to live here are disproportionately affected because they're exposed to just secondhand smoke and also the advertisement of tobacco products to these people, aggressive advertisement in minority communities where these people live.
Now, if you compare other countries to the United States, what often happens is that there's a lot less regulation about where you can smoke, and of course you're concerned about what that means in Liberia.
In Liberia and Sierra Leone, yes. There are no regulations for tobacco products in Liberia, and it's certainly not enforced. And so a lot of people are dying. The health care infrastructure in the country is is almost broken. And so with that situation, it's an unnecessary burden on the country in terms of the cost to the people who live there.
What about the presence of advertising for cigarettes? These are foreign countries, at least foreign to Liberia and Sierra Leone, I guess. In
Liberia, well, because in countries like the United States, the increase in regulation on the advertisement of cigarette, these companies are more moving into these areas like Liberia, like Sierra Leone, where they sponsor sporting activities, where they advertise on television and radio and newspapers, and where they actually give money to legislators to make laws that enable them to sell their products very freely and advertise their products.
And imagine we're talking about people buying these cigarettes who probably don't have a lot of pocket money.
That's the problem. People are poor. I mean, people living on less than $1 a day in places like Liberia. But when they become addicted to smoking, it it adversely affects their family, their ability to even provide a decent meal for their families.
You're doing a lot of work now with refugees, and not just from African countries. Talk about the things that you have to look after in your ministry.
Right now, one of the latest ministries we have is called Greater Boston Refugee Ministry. It's housed at the Emmanuel Gospel Center in the South End. And in the past 2 years, we've been working on researching how to expand the work. See, because for a very long time we were working, but the work has not been done by everyone. A lot of people in places of worship don't know about what we are doing. We have the worst refugee crisis going on right now. And so we've trained over 200 persons, and those people are working currently with the refugee resettlement agencies in Massachusetts to help with the influx of new refugees, to help.
This is BNN News, and we're talking with Torli Krua of Universal Human Rights International. Torli, you have an event coming up on June 20th that concerns refugees too?
Yes, June 20th is World Refugee Day, and we have a donation, a generous donation from Ms. King, who's bringing 50 books for children. You know, a lot of young people, especially people of color, do not read a lot. And so we want to promote reading as a way of helping people to gain advantage in education. And so we'll be donating 50 books to families in the city of Boston that will be on World Refugee Day at the Emmanuel Gospel Center.
And I know, of course, there's a place they can find information about the center online.
egc.org. Emmanuel Gospel Center is egc.org.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Torli Krua of Universal Human Rights International. We'll have more news in just a moment.